Sure. All the meetings are public and streamed live to YouTube. They're also recorded and kept on file at the city. So getting those started right now. And then last thing I need to do is read through our hearing script. This basically just covers the procedure of the hearing, and then we'll jump right into it. So this is the April 6th, 2022 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the Zoning Hearing Examiner for the City of Cincinnati, and I'll preside over this hearing. The case before us today is case number ZH20220021. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the Zoning Hearing Examiner. All testimony or evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. If there were anyone here from the public, they would have an opportunity to speak after the applicant had submitted its case. I'll give our zoning plans examiner, Doug Owen, an opportunity to provide any testimony that he would like. In the event any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to rebut that testimony and or argument offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. So I'll give Mr. Mezer and Mr. Back an opportunity to tell me about the project, why it's appropriate, why I should grant the hillside approval on this case.
Okay.
I'll then hear from Doug, and I'll ask questions along the way. And then you guys can respond to any of Doug's testimony or any of my questions, make any closing remarks. You guys can orient that discussion however you want. One or both of you can talk. It's completely up to you. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. I may also refuse to consider hearsay testimony. That's generally evidence you want to introduce that consists of statements made by someone who is not present at the hearing today. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly. To the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with the hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing. That'll be at my discretion. Okay, last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, then you need to be sworn in. So if you think that's you, please raise your right hand. I need everyone to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, great. All right, so I think we're ready to get started here. Who is going to be taking the lead on the presentation of this project?
I can give a little background and then I can jump to you, Dennis, if you'd like.
Yeah, I'll talk more about the architectural aspects.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for conducting this meeting. I appreciate your guys' time and effort here. So a little background, I bought the property here in, I believe, 2021, early part of the summer and late spring. My intention really with the home is to live there long term. And I thought I saw a lot of opportunity there, given that it was in a pretty bad state currently. So, and then the other neighbors and the neighbors on that street also had kind of, really nice lots and really nice homes. So I thought there's a lot of room there to improve the value of this home, to catch it up to the neighbors. And so this is where Dennis and I kind of come in, and I've really appreciated Dennis's work here because he's helped a lot of things come together for me and explain the process here. And our goal here really from the start, I think Dennis would communicate this to you guys as well, and is to minimize the impact on the hillside as well as the neighbors in this street. So we started with, just doing a rehab of the home. We're not demolishing here. We are rehabbing the existing structure. With that, we want to put on a garage. That being said, it's in the rear yard, which is a little backwards on my house because the rear is actually kind of where you drive up to it. But that's also the flattest area of the land. So we thought that was a good addition. Additionally, it's kind of a necessity on that street, given that the street is a single lane street. So that there's I don't want to block any neighbors. And similarly, there's some other homes on that street that have some garages very close to the Columbia Parkway street you drive up to get to the home. So we thought it was a good addition to the home. We think it's kind of in the right integrity of, it keeps the same integrity of the neighborhood itself, while also improving the neighbors' homes and improving the existing structure there. And Dennis has really been a good lead on that. He's helped me, kind of come up with plans, ideas to get to that point. And I think this plan here kind of does that goal from the beginning, which is to minimize effects on the hillside. We're not building on the hillside. We're not doing things like that, extending out the back, blocking, the views towards the river and, kind of the things people really like on this street. So that was really our goal, is to kind of fit within the structure of the lot, given that it's one of the smaller lots on the street, and try to bring it up to the same value as the neighbors, and just improve it so it's livable and kind of a good addition to the street. So that's kind of my spiel. I'm really looking forward to live there long term. Hopefully we can come up with a good plan. I think we have, but I'll probably toss it to you here, Dennis, if you want to get into the more architectural features and numbers. So be it.
Okay, thank you. Dennis?
David, I think looking at the staff report, I believe you received a couple letters of support from neighbors. I think Doug, was that in the staff report? I believe.
Yeah, there were 2 letters of support, one from the adjacent property owner and then another from a couple doors down, I believe.
And then did you happen to receive, Joe, did you get a chance to talk to Tusculum Community Council? We went to their meeting about
Yeah, I did. That's a good, thank you for reminding me, Dennis. I did. I visited, me and Dennis visited the Columbia Tusculum Community Council, and they approved and supported our variances for this home, which they voted on, I think, the 21st of February. I think I sent that over to
No, that was March.
Cassandra, or March 21st, excuse me. You're right. I think I sent it to Cassandra Maines, who I think added it to the report or the project docs.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll take a look. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
It sounds familiar. Yeah, I see it here. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Dennis, what would you like to tell me?
Architecturally, whereas Joe has mentioned, we're going to rehab the existing house. The existing house is in terrible shape. It's run down, like windows knocked out. It's just an eyesore. And the rest of that street is really beautiful. The people have really done a nice job on the houses. So it'll be a good plus for that house to get fixed up, because the other houses on that street, they've really done a nice job. They're either new or completely renovated. They look good. So I think by Joe redoing this house, will bring it more in tune with what's already gone on in the neighborhood. We are doing on the backside, where the house sits in front of the house, the backyard, which you access it by a private drive off of Vespasia, and that's the back of the house. That ground is all flat, and where the house sits flat. Now, when you get out in the backyard, or in the front yard facing Columbia Parkway, it starts to slope down, and there's a big existing deck which we're going to remove, and we're going to put a new deck back there. It's about 5 feet bigger, I think, but new deck with a fireplace and a powered louver over the top. That's really on the hillside. That's why we're going to be digging some piers. We got a geotech report as part of our submittal, and any work we do when we dig those piers will be inspected by the geotech. The garage, a 2-story garage addition, we're doing on the back of the house, which fronts the private drive. That's on flat ground. We can use standard spread footings on that, but that'll also be inspected by the geotechnical engineer. His lot is.
Be clear, Dennis. You're not asking for any relief on excavation or fill or retaining wall or anything like that, right?
No, we're doing very minimal earthwork on this job. Very minimal, and the variances we're asking for. The rear yard variance, that's probably of all of them, that's, we're asking for a 13.95 variance on the rear yard. That's where we're going to put the garage along the private drive. There's a similar house, a couple houses 2 or 3 houses down the street to the west whose garages, they did the same thing, put a garage on the front. They're very close to the property line too. You know, our height variance is less than a foot. We're asking for our height variance. The west side yard, we're asking for, I believe it's a 7. Doug, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's about a 7.7 variance, a 3.7 variance on the east side, and our height variance is 2.02 feet, just a touch over 2 feet. So most of our variances are reasonably small, and it's, you know, it's just due to he's probably got the smallest lot on the street. Most of the lots are bigger lots or double lots. Most of the houses, if you look at the cages, are a lot bigger than his house. So he's still going to have probably the smallest house around there. Even with this addition, the smallest or second smallest house around. So it's not like his house is going to be out of scale with the rest of the houses. And as Joe mentioned, it gives him 2 off-street parking spaces, which are very important up there, both for him and for the neighbors, to have those 2 off-street parking spaces. You know, we are tearing the 3rd floor of the attic off. It's a pitch roof, put a flat roof on that. So that's why we need the 2-foot height variance, is that so his 3rd floor will be more usable. But I think this improvement will really be an asset for the neighborhood and kind of, you know, kind of go along with what all the other property owners have done along there. Most of the other property owners have. And I think the staff report outlined, you know, also, I agree with all the stuff in the staff report. I think they did a nice job outlining what we're doing on the project. And it is going to be owner occupied.
Okay. Great. Doug, you wanna walk me through these averaging calculations?
Sure. So yeah, this is a little bit unusual just because the lots are so varied on the street as far as, you know, width, depth, and regularity. So the lot to the east of this property is deeper. It extends closer to Columbia Parkway than the other 2 lots, including the subject property. So that throws the average off a bit there. I think it's about 12 feet closer to Columbia Parkway than the neighboring property. So that affects that front yard setback. The rear yard setback, it does have a bit of a panhandle there, but we didn't actually include that in our average. We took it to the main portion of the lot. So on that rear yard averaging, that's pretty regular, pretty accurate. So, but yeah, I mean, other than that, I did have a couple mistakes on the initial staff report, which is why there's a revised version in here. So there were on that east side yard, I was off on that average number. I had some numbers transposed there. So I did make those changes and repost that. Thank you, Dennis, for bringing that to my attention. So yeah, but other than that, you know, the averaging is pretty straightforward. The variances are not major, and they're really related to primarily the fact that the property to the one side is a much wider lot, so they have room for more setback area on the sides, which throws off that averaging. So if these were all regular lots, these averages would likely be much closer. But even considering that, you know, the variances that they're requesting are all reasonable. Largest one being that rear yard setback of just below 14 feet. And, you know, as I mentioned in the staff report, there are other properties on this strip that have similar setbacks. It's just not either of the immediately adjacent properties, which are used for the averaging. Yeah, and then on the height, the rear yard height complies. The front yard height is only 2 feet higher than the average. It's coming in at 38.16 feet, with the average being 36.14. So it's a reasonable height variance. There's no excavation variance required. So typically when someone exceeds the height, minimally, this is mainly for, the top of the building there with the parapet and the cornice projecting above that height limit. So it's not going to create any major issues as far as view sheds or anything along those lines, as far as I can see. So yeah, that's basically it. We are supportive of the requests. And we do feel that, this, as both Mr. Messer and Mr. Back have mentioned, this is one of the smallest properties on the street. So these renovations will bring it more in line to the surrounding properties in that same district.
Okay. Thanks, Doug. Okay, and I think someone mentioned along the way that this won't obstruct any views from any public viewing areas or any other private residences in the vicinity. Is that right?
Yeah, I mentioned that. I talked about how we weren't extending the front yard towards Columbia Parkway, blocking any of the back views. I mean, clearly, from the plans, you can see that I'm with the garage and the second story above there. I will be in terms of the back lot. There's no views towards that. It's just the street or the private drive, I will say, off of Vespasia, which is also Columbia Parkway. But I'm also taking down what is I would imagine it's 4 stories it's a 4-story tall tree in my front yard, which is, I think, primarily blocking any views there as it is. So in my I guess opinion, I think it's probably opening up some maybe sunlight or viewing to that area. What else? But yeah, I think for the most part, I think I'm not detrimenting anyone's views whatsoever. But perhaps kind of leaving everything kind of as is.
Okay. I don't think I have any other questions. Anything else from Mr. Back or Mr. Messer in closing or otherwise before we adjourn here today?
No, I think, unless you have any questions, I think I don't have anything else to add. Joe?
No, not really. I think that really covers it. I support kind of the staff report here. I read it thoroughly, and I think it did a good job kind of getting our point across in terms of our goals. But no, that's truly it.
Okay, great. Yeah, well, we'll leave it at that then. I've had a chance to review the application, review the staff report. Although the revised one, Doug, if you could send that to me. For some reason, that's not loading for me right now. But I've had a chance to review the application. Based on that, the testimony here today, I'm going to approve the application. This seems to be compatible with the surrounding development and modest and a benefit for the community as a whole. So I'll be approving this. I need to formalize that decision in a written opinion. That usually takes a couple weeks. I will get that out to you as soon as I can. As soon as I finish that, I put it into a PDF and I email it to everybody who's in the room here. So you all will have it just moments after it's complete. As soon as you have that, Doug can approve the permitting. And so, yeah, if you have any questions in the meantime, you can reach out to me or to Doug, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. If you'd like a status update on the decision, just reach out to me directly and I can provide that for you. Any other questions right now about anything?
The only thing I'd say, similarly, if you have any other questions or need something from us or Dennis or I, and we'll be happy to help. But appreciate your time.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, thanks again, guys. Appreciate your testimony. I'll have this out to you as soon as I can, and good luck with the project.